David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, breaking news, escalation in the Middle East. Late today, U.S. Central Command launching new self-defense strikes against multiple targets in Iran. The U.S. says the attacks are in response to Iran's continued aggression, including missile and drone attacks targeting U.S. bases and the downing of a U.S. Apache helicopter. Martha Raddatz with new reporting. Also breaking, multiple tornado warnings as we come on the air. More than 100 million people from the Midwest to the Northeast, all on alert for destructive winds, large hail, and possible flooding. Hundreds of thousands without power. Lee Goldberg times it out. The war in Iran, along with gas and oil prices, driving inflation to 4.2% last month, its highest point in 3 years. President Trump asked if he's concerned about rising prices, saying, quote, "I love the inflation." Tonight, billionaire Bill Gates behind closed doors on Capitol Hill, questioned by lawmakers for nearly 6 hours about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The emotional sentencing of a high school track star receiving 35 years in prison for fatally stabbing a rival. What his lawyer is saying tonight. One day after winning the Maine Democratic primary, a high-stakes showdown now set between Graham Plattner and Republican Senator Susan Collins. The race possibly determining control of the Senate. President Trump wasting no time taking aim at Plattner, calling him a pig and a thug. Tonight, my one-on-one interview with the CEO and co-founder of AI giant Anthropic. His urgent warning about artificial intelligence developing too fast, urging other AI labs to slow down and the government to step in. The family swept out to sea in dangerous surf, a young girl still missing. And Taylor Swift's surprise performance, the new song she wrote for Toy Story 5 that even the actors in the movie didn't know about.
And you told me I loved you, came back when it mattered, I saw you.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis in for David. We begin tonight with breaking news, the major escalation in the Middle East. Late today, the U.S. launching a new wave of strikes on multiple targets across Iran. U.S. Central Command says the attacks are in response to, quote, Iran's unwarranted and continued aggression. In the Oval Office today, President Trump vowing the strikes would come within hours. Earlier, Iran targeted American military bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, along with the downing of a U.S. helicopter. Tonight, a top Iranian official is threatening to expand the war against the U.S. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz leads us off.
Tonight, the U.S. military unleashing a new wave of attacks across Iran, following through with a threat President Trump made from the Oval Office just hours before.
We're going to be attacking them and attacking them very hard.
Multiple U.S. strikes reported against several targets, and Iran claiming it is targeting U.S. forces in the region, in addition saying it has completely closed the Strait of Hormuz, which the U.S. denies. The president huddled with top members of his national security team ahead of the strikes, discussing the scope and possible impact on negotiations. And the U.S. making clear the attacks could continue to force Iran to a negotiated deal. This comes just some 24 hours after U.S. fighter jets targeted nearly 20 Iranian sites, including radar and air defense systems, in retaliation for the downing of that U.S. Apache helicopter. Iran releasing unverified video claiming to show the strikes also damaged critical civilian water reservoirs. CENTCOM tonight saying they are looking into the report. Iran's response to the retaliatory U.S. strikes was swift, launching multiple ballistic missiles and drones towards U.S. bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. No injuries or damage was reported. But tonight, a top Iranian official threatening to expand the war, saying of the U.S., we are not afraid of fighting losers. And President Trump renewing his threat to target Iran's power plants and bridges, and making clear that the retaliatory strikes would have been even greater had the pilots of the Apache helicopter been killed.
Got very lucky that bomb didn't explode. That bomb was lodged in the helicopter. It didn't explode. It was on fire, but it didn't explode.
President Trump warning Iran will pay the price for taking too long to negotiate a peace deal.
They keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers.
Lindsay, whether these strikes will force Iran to the negotiating table is unclear, but with this new wave of attacks ongoing, what does seem clear tonight is that this ceasefire appears to be over for now. Lindsay?
Certainly complicating diplomatic efforts there, Martha. Thank you. Tonight, the war in Iran, the cost of oil and gas, all driving up prices in the U.S. Last month, inflation rose to an annual rate of 4.2%, its highest level in 3 years. The market's taking a big hit today. The Dow losing 953 points. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 down as well. When President Trump was asked if he's concerned about rising prices, he said, quote, "I love the inflation," insisting those prices will drop when the war is over. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
With the war in Iran driving prices higher, tonight inflation jumping to 4.2%, up a half point in the last month to the highest level in 3 years.
It's a lot harder to stretch a dollar than it used to be.
President today asked if he was concerned about the latest number.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning?
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
Trump insisting inflation will plunge when the war is over.
Oh, when the war is over?
Yes.
It's coming down.
I know you can't.
It's going to come down like a rock.
For now, Americans are feeling squeezed, paying an extra $510 in fuel since the start of the war, and an extra $294 a month for the same goods and services than a year ago. Betsy Rosado lives in Florida with her husband and 5 children, including a daughter with Down syndrome.
We're killing ourselves to keep up, and it's going to come to a point where I have to choose, do I feed my kids or do I take my daughter to her doctor's appointments?
And grocery prices are up more than 25% in the past 5 years.
A year ago, those prices were pretty moderate, but now they've just increased phenomenally.
And Lindsay, as for President Trump's comments, he loved the inflation number. He later tried to clarify, telling the New York Post he meant he was happy the number wasn't higher and was referring to inflation when the war is over. Lindsay.
Elizabeth, thank you. We move on now to the severe storm threat at this hour. More than 100 million people across the Midwest and Northeast under alerts for dangerous thunderstorms, destructive winds, and flooding. The system is expected to move into the Northeast by Friday. Lee Goldberg is standing by with the forecast. ABC's Alex Perez reports from Chicago tonight.
Tonight, 100 million Americans in the storm zone facing torrential rain, howling straight-line winds.
Yo, check this out.
And tornadoes as violent supercells fire up in the heartland for the 4th night in a row. A wall of storms bearing down on Chicago late today. This dashcam video showing the destructive power of straight-line winds northwest of Milwaukee. Our Madison, Wisconsin affiliate warning viewers.
This is not, again, your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm. We're talking wind gusts at least of 60 to 70 miles per hour.
Thousands in the Twin Cities area losing power after storms brought trees down onto houses.
It was a downpour, and then I heard the crash.
Northwest of Flint, an EF1 tornado, a football field wide with winds of 90 miles an hour, cut a nearly mile-and-a-half path through Freeland, Michigan, tossing trailers and damaging as many as 40 homes. And Lindsay, our crew was right here when those powerful winds blew through the area and snapped this massive tree branch just a short time ago. Now for Chicago and much of the Midwest, it's a 1-2 punch. Severe weather tonight and more expected again tomorrow. Lindsay?
Already so much devastation there. Alex, thank you. Let's get right to ABC senior meteorologist Lee Goldberg. Lee, what are you expecting?
Lindsay, violent storms across the Midwest tonight. We had a squall line, damaging one go through Chicago. We had storms near Green Bay, but by far the strongest storms, tornadoes reported near southern Iowa and northern Missouri. We have a tornado watch there. It was expanded into Illinois as well. Severe thunderstorm watches stretch from Minnesota to Milwaukee to Chicago. The severe weather threat, it's really the same tomorrow for many areas, although you can shift the threat eastward into Michigan and Indiana and down to Texas as well. Chicago's in a level 3 out of 5. Strong tornadoes possible again in the Northeast. More thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. Those could cause some damaging winds. Both Thursday and Friday, D.C., Philly, New York City, all under the gun for storms, and that'll last to the end of the week. It's fueled by all this heat. Back into the 90s, feeling like 100. Heat advisory into the Northeast through Friday. The first heat wave of the season a possibility. We finally get lower humidity over the weekend. Lindsay?
All right, Lee, thank you. Next tonight, billionaire Bill Gates behind closed doors on Capitol Hill, questioned by lawmakers for nearly 6 hours about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, what he says he knew about Epstein's conviction, and what he revealed about his own marital affairs. Here's ABC's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates on Capitol Hill.
I hope my testimony is helpful
to answer questions in a closed hearing about his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Mr. Gates, should you have done more diligence about your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Are you sorry?
Gates admitting today to lawmakers it was a grave error in judgment to not look into Epstein's background more fully.
He admitted that he knew that he had been convicted of sexual crimes.
Epstein had been convicted of soliciting a minor in 2008. Gates telling the House Oversight Committee his relationship with Epstein began in 2011, saying in his opening statement, "If the time I spent with Epstein lent him any credibility, I am deeply sorry." Gates said while he was aware of Epstein's prior legal issues, he said he did not fully understand the extent of crimes he, Epstein, committed. Gates telling Congress he sought the relationship with Epstein to raise funds to promote global health care. But he says Epstein never produced any wealthy donors as promised, and that Epstein tried to use information about my infidelities to pressure Gates to continue their relationship, which he said ended in 2014.
Gates emphasized he never witnessed any crimes and that, quote, he never victimized anyone. Lindsay?
Pierre Thomas for us tonight. Pierre, thank you. Next tonight to Texas and the sentencing of a high school track star convicted of murder. 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony receiving 35 years in prison for fatally stabbing a rival during a track meet. His lawyer already filing a notice of appeal. Let's get right to ABC's Trevor Ault in Los Angeles for us. Trevor, what are you learning?
Well, Lindsay, it's only one day after that conviction, and Carmelo Anthony has already filed this new court document indicating he plans to appeal that murder conviction. The 19-year-old's been sentenced to 35 years in prison for fatally stabbing another athlete from a rival high school during a track meet last year. And before that stabbing, Carmelo Anthony was shoved, but the jury rejected his claim of self-defense. They only deliberated for about 3 hours. And in this new filing, Carmelo Anthony does say he needs to be appointed an appellate attorney because he says he doesn't have any money. Now, this case generated a large response right from the beginning, and with that, hundreds of thousands of dollars were fundraised for Carmelo Anthony's defense, including some money that came in after yesterday's conviction, but that online fundraiser has now been shut down. Lindsay?
Trevor, thank you. Next tonight, one day after winning the Maine Democratic primary, a high-stakes showdown is now set between Graham Plattner and Republican Senator Susan Collins. The race could possibly determine control of the Senate. President Trump wasting no time weighing in. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, a decisive primary victory for Maine Democrat Graham Plattner, setting up a high-stakes showdown that could determine control of the Senate.
We won last night. Resounding win from the voters of Maine.
The oyster farmer and Marine veteran winning despite a string of controversies. Plattner confirming last month that he sent sexually explicit text messages to multiple women early on in his marriage. Last week, several ex-girlfriends describing, quote, unsettling behavior to the New York Times. One claiming he got physical. He denies being violent. His opponent, Republican Senator Susan Collins, pouncing.
The allegations against Graham Plattner are extremely troubling and serious.
And then there's the tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol Plattner put on his chest. He claims he didn't know its symbolism and had it covered up.
If you believe, as I do, that we can change our politics and change our country, then you must also believe that people can change.
Democrats have to flip 4 seats to win in November. President Trump today labeling him a pig and a thug.
He's a thug. And they're trying to make excuses for him. I mean, he's worse than any human being that's ever run for office, probably. I don't know him.
And Lindsay, another key matchup is taking shape in California in the race to succeed Governor Gavin Newsom. Steve Hilton, a former Fox News commentator backed by Trump, advancing to the general election where he will face off against former Biden Cabinet Secretary Javier Becerra. Lindsay.
We'll be watching closely. Mary Bruce from the White House. Thank you. Now to my one-on-one interview with the CEO and co-founder of AI giant Anthropic, Dario Amodei, with an urgent warning tonight about artificial intelligence, his concerns about how quickly it's developing, why he's urging other AI companies to slow down, and why he's calling for immediate government regulation of his own industry. In the midst of a global artificial intelligence race, tonight, Dario Amodei, the CEO of the powerful AI company Anthropic, delivered an urgent warning about its dangers and is proposing the government should step in.
We need to collect better data on what's happening, right? There's been a lot of debate about what's happening in the labor market with AI now and what will happen in the future.
In a lengthy essay, Amodei, whose company is valued at nearly $1 trillion, says AI is advancing at a lightning pace with no oversight, saying the government should be allowed to legally block or halt dangerous AI models if they pose a threat to public safety. How much of an onus falls on you, falls on Anthropic? Where is the responsibility to make sure that you're creating a safe product that doesn't create a worst case scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're building it. The onus is on us, right? I think the government has a role in setting standards, in helping us identify and track down threats. So the government has to do its part as well, and I think the government is starting to do its part. But the onus primarily falls on us.
How do you account for countries such as China to be good actors, responsible citizens when it comes to artificial intelligence overall?
I don't think they will be on their own. If we are the ones who are leading in AI, which I think we should continue to do, then it is easier to get our adversaries to agree to at least some minimal amount of restraint. I don't think we're going to get a lot. I don't trust China at all.
My entire interview with Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei is available on ABC News Live. When we come back, the urgent search for a child swept away by dangerous surf at a popular beach. One of baseball's biggest stars works out with a group of little leaguers ahead of a big game. And Taylor Swift joins the Toy Story gang, the newest voice in the beloved universe. Next tonight, authorities in Orange County, California are expanding their search for a child who was swept out to sea. The girl was with her mother and sibling when dangerous surf pushed them into the sea last night. Bystanders rescued the mother and sibling, but they were unable to reach the girl. A fisherman in Nantucket reeled in a really big catch over the weekend. An 8-foot-long white shark weighing about 300 pounds. The fisherman struggled to quickly unhook the shark and release it. The fisherman told a local newspaper that he had no intention of targeting the shark. When we come back, a group of little leaguers couldn't believe it when a superstar showed up to play catch. And the dramatic images, the NYPD apprehends a suspect in a Central Park lake. To the Index, dramatic footage captured the arrest of a suspect who had jumped into a Central Park lake. The NYPD used a helicopter and divers to reach the man, struggling with him in the water before eventually pulling him out. The suspect was reportedly accused of theft. Pirates star pitcher Paul Skeens tuning his skills with a group of little leaguers outside Pittsburgh. And he gave those 10 to 12-year-olds an experience many will never forget. Skeens played catch and signed autographs for hours. The next day, the reigning Cy Young Award winner held the Dodgers to 2 runs. When we come back, the new voice in the Toy Story gang. Finally tonight, Taylor Swift and her childhood dream come true. In Los Angeles last night, the voices behind Toy Story 5 gathering for the film's world premiere. Among them, Taylor Swift, the newest voice joining this beloved universe.
It means so much to me to actually be a part of this film in some small way. I watched Toy Story when I was 5, and I've watched every single one of the films so many times.
Swift's new song, I Knew It, I Knew You, written for Jessie, the cowgirl whose own story has long been stitched together with heartbreak, resilience, and hope.
I remembered I loved you, came back when it mattered, I saw you.
In Toy Story 5, we see such a character development and really lessons that I could relate to.
It's the kind of reflection at the heart of Toy Story itself, that love can remain even when time moves on. The movie, produced by Pixar, is owned by our parent company, Disney. Then came another surprise, Swift performing the song live for the very first time.
And it's been a while, but I knew it, I knew you.
And then fittingly, a duet with songwriter Randy Newman.
You got a friend in me.
A friendship that endures for us all. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted, most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.